Ego, Slammy, Ego, Slammy, Ego, Slammy, hey, you already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. We should know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
All right, welcome. Talking Friars, episode 598. It is May 15th, 2024, and the Padres just got swept by the Colorado Rockies, a team that, even after sweeping the Padres, they are 15-28. This was an interesting series. As I adjust my setup here real quick, apologies for that. But yeah, I mean, there were some really interesting quotes as well from Mike Shildt in this series. Didn't feel like they got outplayed, but they got swept. They lost 3 games, but they didn't get outplayed. And then some of the stuff that he said, it's not fully backed up by what happened during the series. What was that? Game 1 of the series, where Shildt was like deflating to I think Kevin Acee, on if that loss was deflating to him. He's saying the sky's not falling in the Padres clubhouse, which I think is accurate. I don't think that these players are super worried about, just because they got swept by the Rockies. But as a fan base, this is like the worst time to get swept by the Rockies because there's a day off in between. So now fans can sit here and be all pissed off that the team got swept by the Rockies. And then the Braves are coming up. So it's not like it gets easier on the road against the Braves. Oh, and they've got the bottom of the rotation coming up. It's not like it's Dylan Cease. It's Waldron and Vasquez, and then Musgrove, hopefully, for Sunday. And it's a wraparound series. It's not even a 3-game series. It's a 4-game series. So then there's Monday as well. So, actually, maybe it would be Darvish then on Saturday, not. So Waldron, Darvish Saturday, sorry. So at least there's that. The Braves, by the way, are 26-14, so they're humming along, being the Atlanta Braves. But yeah, let's get into this series. If you want to join the show, click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. I will get to the chat. Any super chats, those go to the front of the line. I appreciate anyone that takes the time to do that. But yeah, today, I mean, starting with today's game, 8-0 loss. That really explains what happened. I mean, Manny tells the media that the Padres played bad baseball, but then he, I think, was telling Kevin, I didn't say that we played bad baseball. But then he realizes, I did? Sorry, my bad. No, we didn't play bad baseball. We just didn't execute. So, like, what is it? I mean, you can't convince me that today. So, it's not bad baseball because you didn't execute? Isn't that what makes it bad baseball, is because you didn't execute? Or maybe their version of bad baseball is just making a bunch of errors. But, Mike Shildt mentioned that in his post-game presser today. And you look at the errors combined in this series, the Rockies made none, the Padres made 4. So it's not like the Padres played this clean, crisp baseball the entire series like it seemed like Mike Shildt was trying to make it seem like in his post-game presser. Game 1 of the series, 9 hits for the Rockies, only 4 for the Padres. So got out-hit there. Got one more hit than the Rockies did in Game 2, but it was close, and you still lost the game. So it's not bad baseball, but it's a lack of execution. For me, that's part of what makes it bad baseball. Some of these quotes just didn't make a whole lot of sense today. Today, Padres 4 hits, the Rockies had 12. That's not bad baseball. That's just being out-executed, but it doesn't mean it's bad baseball. I'm not so sure about that. Tatis went 0 for today. Cronenworth went 0 for. Manny went 0 for. Camposano went 0 for. Kim went 0 for. Azokar went 0 for. Which, by the way, I wanted to see Merrill. I want to see Jackson Merrill in this lineup. I get it. Azokar has better numbers, and it's a lefty on the mound. But if Merrill's going to go play, and he made some good plays out there, by the way, today. But like, when are they going to allow him to just play every day? Be an everyday player, give him time to improve facing left-handed guys. Give him it. Like, what's it going to hurt? Azokar is going to produce more, like significantly more, where you can see the big difference against over Merrill when a left-handed guy's on the mound. I'm not so sure about that. I think Merrill's been one of the guys that have helped the Padres get to where they're at. Without Jackson Merrill's performance, would they be 22-24 right now? It would probably be a little bit worse, I would imagine, right? But just overall today, offense didn't do really anything. I mean, they scored no runs. So, yeah, didn't do anything. And then the Rockies took advantage of Michael King, I guess not realizing early enough that the Rockies were going to be aggressive. The sweeper was just not being effective enough for Michael King over the middle of the plate, and it got hammered by some of these Rockies hitters today. King goes 5 1/3, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, 8 hits. Did strike out 7, but he gave up a home run. And obviously, what matters the most is that earned run column, and it was 6 earned runs. No reliever today was able to shut out the Rockies in any or in the innings that they pitched. It was just a sucky performance. And I'm sure fans were glad that it didn't take 3 hours. It took, less than 2.5 so that they could get out of there. There were boos from the Petco Park crowd, which is totally understandable. And Michael King and Xander Bogaerts were saying post-game pretty much like, yeah, they understand it. And smart baseball fans in San Diego, we got to play better. You don't like the boos? Play better. That's what Bogart said after today. Yeah, he's right about that. I think the San Diego fans, I don't think we just boo all of the time. We're not the Yankees fans. We don't boo all the time. We don't boo on opening day. But when it's something like this where you just won a Dodger series and you get swept, not only do you get swept by the Rockies, you don't lose 1-0 or lose 4-3. No, you lose 8-0. That's a different level there. That's a different level of irritation, I think, for Padres fans. Austin Gomber, that's not Justin Verlander. That's not Jacob deGrom. That's not Garrett Cole the last time I checked. And I think fans will look at that name and be like, really? You let Gomber go 6 innings and no runs, 2 walks? And I don't think fans are going to want to hear you got to tip your cap to the Rockies. They're playing good baseball right now. Because I think Manny said that. I think Shildt said that at some point. Fans, we don't want to hear that. For example, there's times where it's okay to say, yeah, tip your cap. The Dodgers against Michael King last Friday. That tip your cap game. Even the Padres facing Glass now. They won the game, but didn't do a whole lot. That even is like, okay, yeah, tip your cap. That's a really good pitcher. We know how dominant that guy can be, and his stuff, nasty. Has Austin Gomber earned that level where it's like, yeah, it's Austin Gomber, You're going in thinking that you're going to get dominated. I'm not so sure about that, So I think that's where the irritation comes from as well. 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position today. Game 2 of this series, they went 3 for 12. And then in game 1, they went 0 for 6. And at one point, they were 0 for 24 with runners in scoring position. Not in this series, but like the last 24 opportunities to get a hit with runners in scoring position. And then that broke, I believe, yesterday. So it was not good. So when Shildt wants to say, like, I love the optimism, like, I love that in spring training, and I like it, but when you get swept by the Rockies, I mean, I guess fans, when we get upset at the post-game pressers, it's kind of a waste of time, right? Because if he would have come out and said, yeah, we sucked this series, it's not going to happen again. Well, you still got swept. We can't cancel out one of the games because Shildt said something good in the post-game presser. Same thing with the players. Like, what matters is what happens on the field. But it still does piss you off, though, as a Padres fan, where you sit here and I think Kevin Acee and guys that are asking questions, and Marty Caswell as well. I don't want to forget about her. They're in there asking questions. And Mike Shildt is like doing whatever he can to avoid being negative about the team. Some of his quotes today. I'm going to take exception with being outplayed when he was answering, I think, Kevin's question. We lost 3 games, like saying that they didn't get outplayed. When, no, they did get outplayed. I'm sorry, you don't get swept without being outplayed in at least one of the games, and they were outplayed in multiple games. What's the game that you could make the case that they weren't outplayed in? Yesterday's game, because they had more hits than the Rockies did? I mean, were they outplayed in game 1 of the series? Maybe some would want to make the argument that they weren't outplayed there, but and you'd go with the Manny thing, like that they executed more than the Padres did, but execution is part of playing good baseball. So, yeah, you were outplayed. When Monday night, when you lose 5-4 in a game that you definitely could have won, your top 3 guys went 0 for, top 4 guys actually, combined to go 0 for what, 0 for 15 in that game. You go 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. You leave 9 guys on base. There were back-to-back innings at the end of that game where the bases were loaded. They got walked loaded, by the way, and you couldn't come through. Multiple double plays hit into. And then game 2 of the series, I think Manny hit into a couple of double plays as well. So you can say that if that makes yourself feel better that you weren't outplayed, but I'm sorry, then you must have a different definition of being outplayed than most of the fan base does, right? And then Mike Shildt, there was another quote about the booing. You tell me what message they're sending us, talking about the fans booing. And I think Padre fans are like, well, that you guys aren't playing good enough. Play better baseball. We're not happy. We're paying a bunch of money to go watch you guys play, and you're not playing good enough baseball. It's a day-to-day game. Sure, did we love the Dodgers series win? Yeah. But then you followed up getting swept. We're reacting to, at least I am, and fans are reacting on social media and all that. We're reacting to what's happening today. In that game today, we're reacting what's happening in that series. So if Mike Shildt wants to sit there and say, it's funny that we talk about the consistency, the inconsistency now, but we don't talk about it when we're winning 4 series in a row. I think he said something about that. Or maybe he meant excuse me. Maybe he mentioned like the Dodger series. And it's like, well, if I remember correctly, I think people were talking about the consistency, that the Padres were playing good baseball, that they had won 4 series in a row. I think we were talking about that. And we were praising the Padres for winning 4 series in a row. I think we were. I think we were praising the Padres for the great starting pitching performances and some of the good offensive performances. I think we were. So maybe it's some of the newspapers that Shilt's reading that, or some of the articles that he's just not seeing the praise. I don't know. I know Kevin, he does criticize the Padres when they don't cash in on opportunities, but he's doing his job as well. You know, he's informing his audience of how the Padres are playing. When the Padres are playing good, go look at the Padres Daily and the tidbits and all that, and guess what? There's some good ones in there. So it's really like the media is doing their jobs, and you know, Shildt, he constantly says like, I appreciate the question, I understand, but he doesn't give, I guess, satisfying answers to the fans, which can piss people off. But at the end of the day, I think we make it more of a big deal than it is, because what matters the most is what's going to happen on the field on Friday against the Braves. What happened on the field today? Him giving accountable comments, like Bogey, for example, right? He gives accountable comments to the media about how his performance trash. He said that earlier this year. Don't want to get booed? Play better. He's been accountable. And we like that. But what does that mean? That doesn't buy you wins, right? What is he doing right now? How's Bogarts doing as a whole this season? He has a 578 OPS, a 213 average, and he homered, I think, back-to-back days recently, right? Like, we're seeing that. Cool. Had a hit today. See, he is doing a little bit better results-wise, hits-wise. Had a hit yesterday, game 1 of the series. Had a hit as well. Had a home run, I believe, that game. So, like, he's performing a little bit better in terms of results, but still, like, what is that getting us? And again, what I'm referring to is the accountability. What is that getting us? Nothing. What matters is the play on the field. Now, as fans, we like it when they are accountable, but again, it doesn't mean a whole lot. If we're being honest. Don't get me wrong. I like when players are accountable. I like when the manager gives satisfying answers. But when you lose, how many satisfying answers can these guys give? You know, um, starting pitching in this series, King today, it was just, what we've seen a little bit from Michael King, giving up the home run. The inconsistency this season from Michael King. He'll have some really good outings, like against the Dodgers, against the Brewers, but then he'll have some outings like today where the sweeper's not sweeping enough, leaving balls over the middle of the plate. It's not like he's walking a ton of guys. Had 2 walks today, but just can't get through 6 sometimes because of the lack of effectiveness. Yesterday, Dylan Cease kept the Padres in the game. Sort of. It wasn't the Dylan Cease level of he did his job, but he still did his job. I mean, bottom line, the offense just wasn't good enough this series. Like, that's that. Um, Kolek yesterday, for example, like, he was giving up a bunch of hits, and some of them weren't hit hard. So it was a little tough watching that, a little bit of tough luck, which is valid. Shildt talked about that this series as well. Some things just not going the Padres' way. But at the same time, do fans want to hear that as well? And it's not like you lose games only because things aren't going your way. You have opportunities to come through. Now, in the 9th inning, I think it was last night. Maybe it was the first game. I think it was last night. I think the first 2 outs of the inning were line drives right at guys. And that has happened. Some balls, I think the Manny ball the other night, the first night, where people were talking about the double play ball, that ball was hit like 105 miles per hour. So there's only so much you can do. Like, I understand that part, but there's still a lack of execution that happened this series that should be better. And I think that's pretty obvious. Let's get to that whole double play thing in game 1 of this series, where it's close. The Padres battled back. There were home runs, Profar, Bogarts, Merrill, which was good to see. And it was a 1-run game, 5-4. And Manny could have come through to at least tie it, or Padres, go walk it off, whatever. And he grounds into a double play to end the game, right? Yeah, there was 1 out in that situation. Ends the game. And some didn't like that he swung at the first pitch because they see the Rockies are walking guys. 3 guys on, I think it was 3 walks in that inning. And some are like, when you got 3 walks, you can't be swinging at the first pitch. What are you doing? I think fans, you're not pissed off that he swung at the first, or if you are, you're just not paying attention, because Manny explained it well the next day, yesterday, before the game, and he was like, well, there were 3-2 counts. It's not like he was walking guys on 4 pitches. That would be different. And Manny's a smart baseball player. His IQ, it's high. So like, he knows what he was doing there. I'm totally fine with what his process there. You don't like the result, but he hit it over 100 miles per hour, and it was a double play. They had other opportunities. They had plenty of opportunities in that game where they could have come through And they didn't. When they were handed a bunch of walks by this Rockies team, a bunch of walks. Let's go to, I think it was the 7th inning. No, 6, I think. No. It wasn't the 6, sorry. 7th, yeah. So Merrill has the homer, makes it 5-4. Campy walks, Kim walks. First and second, nobody out. And you got the top of the order up, Arise Tatis. Arise grounds into a double play, and Tatis grounds out. Big opportunity there, and it felt like, okay, game's over. That's the opportunity. Not like the game is over. Like, they had chances, it's one swing of the bat to tie it. But it felt like, okay, that was their big chance. But they got more chances. They got more chances after that. 8th inning, 3 walks. Cronenworth, Profar, Merrill. But Manny lines out, Bogart strikes out, and Campy lines out. Flies out, but they said lined out. I was fine with the swing or the pitch that he swung at there. I think there were 2 strikes in that situation. Lots of opportunities. Had opportunities in the 9th, leadoff walk. Then there's a fly out. I mean, that was a great play by Jake Cave. Some of the things like doesn't go your way. That's that a little bit, right? But Tatis walks, Cronenworth walks, and you have the opportunity, ground into a double play. It wasn't just the 9th inning. It wasn't just Manny. It was a team effort, really, of like not being able to come through in that game. But going back to Manny, I was fine with him swinging there. Now, the next night where he swung at first pitch, maybe not, but I'm fine with it. Go look at his career when he swings at the first pitch. He's hitting over 300. This is who Manny's going to be, and I'm fine with it. Maybe this is wild, but I trust Manny Machado and what he's doing, what his approach is going to be when he goes up to the plate. Is it frustrating that he's underperforming? Yeah, he knows it. Is it frustrating Xander is and Tatis? Yeah, of course. But I'm not going to sit here and be questioning Manny Machado and his approach and his process going up to the plate. Maybe in a couple months if this continues, but I'm not going to do it now. I think that's pretty hilarious. What's hilarious is when Manny grounds to the double play the other night, some of the takes. Oh, I get it, social media, and that's not the real world all the time. But some are like, Manny, he's useless. Stuff about his contract being like the worst contract in Padres could be the worst contract in Padres history. Like, come on, guys. I get it. We're emotional, but some of these things, it's like, think about what you're going to put out there before you put it out there. Maybe. I'm not talking about like grammatical stuff. I'm just talking about the take that you have after Manny grounds into a double play that was hit over 100 miles per hour to end a game. Just think before you put it out there, because some of these things, it was like, wow, okay. Someone's having a night, aren't they? Maybe some were frustrated. Manny didn't speak to the media right after that game, but he spoke to the media before yesterday's game. Again, what matters the most is the results on the field. So, and I'm guilty of it. I get frustrated with quotes sometimes that players have or the manager has, right? Because I'm a passionate fan of the team. But I feel like sometimes we get caught up in that because we should be focusing more on the play on the field, not what someone says post game after a result that you can't take away already happened. But yeah, pitching could have been better this series. Hitting definitely could have. The execution, as they say, could have been better. Should have been better in this series against the Rockies. And yeah, it's frustrating. Take a step forward against the Dodgers, or you take 4 steps forward, I guess, because 4 series wins, and then you take a major step back, getting swept. Do I think that is there hope Manny's going to get back to being the guy that we need him to be? Yeah, I have hope, because there are signs of him. He's still hitting the ball hard. I'm hoping that, if you want to look at it glass half full, The elbow is affecting him. Like, he admitted that during the series this week. I think it was yesterday before the game. Some of the things, like, he has to make adjustments because he can't do what he did before the surgery. I'm hoping that he can get back to doing what he did once there's time further away from the surgery. Like, that's part of where the hope is with Manny, is that he's a very talented baseball player, one, and two, the farther he gets away from surgery, hopefully the better he will feel, better the elbow will feel. You know how Tatis last year, it wasn't a Tatis, season, like, great season. And this year, yeah, it's been underwhelming as well, but hopefully he's getting, like, he's getting to 100%. Manny had a quote earlier this year about how he's probably not going to get to 100% this year. So, in terms of this year, maybe, yeah, that's a concern. But in terms of, like, long term, the rest of his prime, I'm not there where I'm like, oh man, I'm super concerned about Manny Machado. I'm not there. I'm not at that point. There's some things I can go to where I can still have hope that Manny's going to turn it around. All right. If there's things that I miss, put them in the chat. I will go to the chat here after this break.
Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well.
All right. Some of the other great partners of the show, by the way, Breaking Tea, Padres, Aztecs, Wave, shirts and sweatshirts. The Wave, by the way, play this week at Bay FC, and then they play the next week at Angel City. So a little bit of time away from Snapdragon Stadium. Check out Underdog Fantasy. They've got the PGA Championship selections for this week. There's an option there. The WNBA season got underway last night with some fun games. The NBA playoffs are going on. Obviously, Major League Baseball action. I have my Padres pregame picks when I do my pregame thoughts. So use that link. Click that link in the description. And when you use my code Talking Friars, you will get a special pick to claim and a first-time deposit, 50% deposit match up to $250 on Underdog Fantasy. And then SeatGeek, code Talking Friars, $20 off your order for events. Let's go to the first super chat of the night. Thank you so much. The Real Ricky Tan says, I think Arias might have players butt hurt in the lineup. The next Tony, automatic number one on the lineup, and the star players are pouting. That's what I see. But why would that affect the star players? Wouldn't they? Was it affecting them when Arias had like a 4-hit night or whatever against the D-backs in his debut? Seemed like they were pretty happy to have Luis Arias on the team. I don't know if you're seeing Manny in the dugout with Arias. It seems like they're getting along really well. So I'm not so sure about that. I don't think they're butt hurt. Profar wherever he wants, and he continues to hit well for the Padres. Yeah, I don't know. I disagree about the players being butthurt about him in the lineup. Like, whose spot did he take? Who would be butthurt about it? Xander? I mean, Xander, he's got to play better. He knows that. Profar, he's not. He's playing really well. So I don't think that they're butthurt about Arise being in the lineup. And he's, by the way, his big league career, he's earned to be number one in the lineup. Just like Manny has earned the benefit of the doubt to be hitting fourth in the lineup, and continue to hit there. And Shildt thought that Bogarts had earned, being in the leadoff spot for as long as he did. That's just part of what it is here, So hopefully I answered that well. Thank you for the super chat, but I disagree with that point. All right, let's see here what you guys have to say. Wow, yeah, that's a bad first Padres game to be going to. Irie says that was bad, but predictable. Haven't had a lot of success against the Rockies since Bud Black took over. Yeah. He's been there for a while, huh? Time flies. Jay Fly says Manny needs to be put on the IL for rest of the season, maybe come back for the postseason. See, it's some of these like idiotic comments where you guys are just reactionary. Like, in what world is he going to go on the IL for the rest of the season? You know, I see people comment. It's so ridiculous. I see people comment that Manny should be sent down, or that Bogart should go down to AAA El Paso to gain his confidence back. Like, what? Like, I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. But some of these comments, it's not you guys only. It's it's people on social media that I see as well in the comments, and it's like, do you realize how stupid of a take that sounds like? Dino's 5150 says Shildt is going to explode on the media soon, very soon. He's insecure. Well, I mean, it feels like he's already pretty pissed. Doesn't seem like it seemed like he was a fan of AC in spring training, and now when they're on a losing streak and AC's actions, like doing his job, it doesn't seem like Shildt really likes the questions, or he makes sure to publicly disagree with what AC was saying in the lead up to what his question was. Like today, I think it was, what was the exact question? About being outplayed. And then Shildt came back and didn't think that they got outplayed. They just lost 3 games. It's like, like what? Okay, maybe you can make a case for 1 game. They didn't outplay us. Bad breaks. We lost the game. But you got swept by the Rockies, dude. You're saying that you outplayed the Rockies, or like you played on the same level but you still got swept? Like, come on, man. The players don't even buy that. Like, go look at the player quotes. The players don't buy it. Michael King said of the fans booing, we have some smart fans. They know when they're seeing bad baseball. Bad baseball. Bogarts talked about it. Manny said that he didn't say that they played bad baseball. Didn't mean to say they played bad baseball today, even though he did say it. And then he went to, we didn't execute enough. It's like, well, execution is part of playing good or bad baseball, you know? So, yeah. They got outplayed. They played bad baseball. They got swept by the Rockies. You know, that's what it is. Yeah. The box score says otherwise about not being outplayed. Yeah. Let's see here. Mike says, relax, everyone. This is a 500 ball club, and that's right about where they're at. Time to accept it. Hey, that might be what this Padres team is going to be. As long as they're a little over 500 and they make the playoffs, like that's what I think the fan base cares about the most here. And then we see what happens when the playoffs come around. I'm not asking. I'm not asking them. I didn't go into the season expecting them to go win 92 games. 90 games even. What I expected was to be a wild card team, win over 80 games, and get into the playoffs. And that's still very much on the table. We still got a long way to go in this season. Today was what? Game number 46? Do the math. Look how many more games we have left in this year. That's a lot. And they're 2 games under 500. So if you want to go like the Mike Shildt route and be all positive and optimistic, there's a lot of baseball to be played. There's been injuries. Big 3 hasn't played good enough. And boom, they're almost at 500 still. And they've been competitive against the Dodgers. They've won the season series so far against the Dodgers. So you can go that route as well if you want to. But understandably, it's going to be hard for Padres fans to go that route after getting swept at home by the Colorado Rockies. And the series finale was losing 8-0. Yeah, didn't have a lead the entire series, but they weren't outplayed. Interesting. I like when Shildt is optimistic. Like, I'd rather have a manager do that. But when something like this happens, I guess I would have given. I guess I just wouldn't have gone the route that Shildt went in this postgame. But again, I feel like we put too much into it because, like, let's focus on what happened on the field. Because those comments, regardless of if they were good for us, like satisfied us, or they didn't, it doesn't matter. That's the comment postgame. Excuse me. Postgame comments don't make the postseason. The wins and losses decide that. Irie, thank you for the super chat. Says, I call this team a sleeping giant 500 ball club. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what they could be, right? I mean, they have some of the ingredients, or they do have the ingredients, right? They've got talent in the bullpen. They've got lockdown closer. They've got talent in the rotation. They've got talent in the lineup. They've got superstars. They've got a manager with postseason experience. They've got a GM that, you know, makes a lot of moves that signal, okay, yeah, we're trying to win here. They've got a passionate fan base. So, yeah, there's ingredients here. They got to put it together. I don't know. Yeah, Iron Swan says we need Shildt to scream at everyone after that horrid performance. When is that point where they have a meeting where Shildt goes off? Because we know that he has that. Like, if you paid attention to his Cardinals days, um, you see the ejection, I believe, earlier this year. You did see him go off. It's there. But when is that going to come out? What is that going to take? Is it going to take losing 4 straight series in a row as opposed to the winning 4 straight that just happened? Like, it wasn't going to come out today after getting swept. Maybe some wanted it, but it just wasn't going to happen. Because his instant reaction is to go to the positive and back his guys. And you do that, and it's easy to say, we just won a series against the Dodgers. We just won 4 straight series. So for him, the sky's not falling. He's not going to go, ballistic on the team after 3 games like that when they just won the Dodgers series. Let's see here. Sorry, quick water break, and then I'll get back to the comments. All right. Ray says sometimes a good road trip is exactly what a team needs. When you're on the road, nothing to focus on but baseball. I guess. Not all sometimes family does travel on the road. But yeah, sometimes there's less distractions. But guys can go out on the road as well. But like, I'm not worried about, oh, this team lacks focus. I mean, I'm going to sit here and say Jackson Merrill lacks focus. I'm going to say Mike Shildt, when he's a baseball nut, he lacks focus. Xander Bogaerts lacks focus. I'm just not going to say that. Jake Cronenworth lacks focus. I'm not saying that. So, on the road, maybe it's easier. Maybe, the Padres do play pretty well on the road. Maybe it's because there's no sellout Padre fan crowd and they feel less pressure. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, hopefully this road trip's going to be good, and that's what really gets this team going again. Because they were going 4 straight series wins. And I was praising them, but I'm reacting to what just happened, and what was pretty embarrassing. The real Ricky Tan asks, do we make a few more moves with signings? I think we are one starter and one bat away. I think so. I think they'll, maybe not signings, but trades. I think they'll add a starter at least because they probably need one because it's a long season. And add another bat. I mean, right now, with where they're at, they like Azokar as a bench outfielder. Profar's raking. Tatis and Merrill aren't going anywhere, so you're not doing anything there. DH, I mean, they want to keep that open with Manny, right? You can have a rise there if Manny's at third. They have Solano. I don't think there's the urgency to add a bat like there is to add an arm at the deadline right now. If you could pick one, it's an arm, not a bat. I don't think it would be a bat if you're going to ask AJ. You could never have enough. I think it was Jesse Agler, the first guest that I had on this show. And this was before I was even doing this on YouTube. He came on and I had him on the phone and I was talking about, I think, the trade deadline maybe coming up of 2021. And he was like, you can never have enough pitching. Or maybe it was during an off-season show. I forget. But you can never, I was asking him, what should the Padres do? You can never have enough pitching. You can never have enough. And that's the case. We'll see if Adam Mazur going to get a shot because he just got called up to AAA. And I believe he has been pitching really well. I think he has a sub-2 ERA. I'm looking up his numbers right now. I think he just made his El Paso debut. Sorry, not sub-2, sub-3. 2.11 ERA this year, 0.94 whip, 38 strikeouts, and 38 in the third innings. His one start in El Paso, which is hard to pitch in, 6 innings, 2 earned runs. So maybe if Vasquez, if they need a start somewhere, I don't know if they're going to bring him up for a spot start, but if someone gets hurt and they need starts, or let's say Waldron falls out, right, of the rotation, maybe they go to Mazur and he'll be the 5 starter. So that's something to look at. I think they're going to pull that trigger before the deadline to see what they have, to see if it works. Maybe they still get a pitcher regardless, but I think he's someone to look at for sure. Keep an eye on with him being called up. Which it's interesting that he was called up to El Paso because don't some say like AA, like that's the best talent, where AAA, it's a lot of major league vets. Major league vets that aren't good enough right now to be in the big leagues, but they're veteran players, so they're still in professional baseball. And teams don't send them to AA; they have them in AAA. But AA, that's where like the top prospects are. So it's interesting that they sent him up to AAA, but maybe they want to see how he handles getting knocked around with El Paso because it's going to happen because there's not really many pitchers that dominate El Paso. It just doesn't happen. Yeah, that's true. Manny is claiming that he's changing things with his swing. I think because of the elbow, like he's trying to adjust. Like, okay, how can I not have my elbow hurt so I can be in the lineup every day? And I don't know exactly what he can't do because of this elbow that he could do before. I'm not so sure. Super chat here. Thank you so much. Wifty Cent says, Manny's interview with Marty after tonight is a joke. King at least acknowledged the weekend and the fans. We pay good money to support this team. We have the right to be frustrated. Oh, no doubt about that. You do have the right to be frustrated. I didn't like that he said we played bad baseball, that I guess didn't realize it because he's probably trying to go through the motions with what he's saying to the media because he doesn't care about the media too much, which I don't really care that he doesn't care. Like his job, what he'll say is his job is to go play baseball. And speaking to the media is something that is, I guess, something that he has to do at points during the year. I don't think to be honest, I don't think he really cares what fans think about his responses to the media. And I do respect him for that a little bit, but also, yeah, there's times that I get frustrated with some of the answers to the media. Today, with his media scrum, what did we not like? He did go back to that's just baseball. He likes saying that. Um, I think some fans didn't like it wasn't bad baseball, it was a lack of execution. It's like that's part of what makes baseball what made it bad baseball is because there was the lack of execution. You know, he must have a different meaning. But he also lives the Padres players as well. They live in a different world than we do because they're in it every day. They're in that clubhouse every day. They're the ones facing the 97, the 100-mile-per-hour pitches. And they're the ones that have to come to the ballpark with confidence, even if they're really struggling. So they view things a little bit differently, I think, than we do. J-Fly says, Ben, Manny said his elbow isn't 100%. Then why is he not on the IL 30 or 60 day? Because Manny Machado is better not 100% than most guys are 100%. And we know that Manny has a huge say in the organization. So if he feels like he can play and he's good enough to go play third base some games, then he's going to play. You're not going to, hey, go sit on the IL for 2 months when you can play physically. Like, that's just not going to happen. Let's see here. Just seeing if there's anything else to bring up in the chat. Sorry about my voice. Sometimes it goes in and out because I'm still trying to get over the cough and the sniffles a little bit. I've been sneezing and coughing, so it hasn't been the best week for me health wise, but I'm grinding through it. Hopefully, I can get through this, and the next live will be good during that Brave series or after the Brave series, whenever that happens. I get that. Yeah, I get that frustration. How hard is it to say we had a bad weekend, but this doesn't define us as a team. We're going to take this and move on from it. Well, to be fair, some of the players did. And I think Manny did say like what he did initially say we played bad baseball. Marty Caswell posted the quote from Manny here. This is before he corrected himself. Yeah, if they did boo, we played really bad baseball. That's deserved. But then he came back and was like, I didn't mean to say that we played bad baseball. We just didn't execute good enough. So there are some times where he's like, yeah, we haven't played bad baseball. Yesterday, for example, which I hope this gets brought up, if we're going to be fair, we could criticize Manny, but we got to praise him on the other side when he says things that are accountable. And he said, let's face it, the big three essentially said, we have not played good enough. And it's like, no, duh, but yeah, okay. So he's admitting that there, Oh, yeah. Okay. So you're mad about Manny denying hearing the boos. Well, okay. For me, that's not that big of a deal. And two, I can say this as someone that has worked field level during professional sporting events. When I have a job to do, I literally zone out sometimes with what's happening around me. Maybe that's not the best thing, but I'm so focused on what I need to do and what I need to focus on that I like tune out. I have tuned out the crowd sometimes, and I don't focus on what is happening there. So I totally buy. No, you may not, but some players they tune out what's happening. what the fans are doing and all that because they're focused on doing their job. So you may not like it, but I'm not going to go sit here and criticize someone that says, well, I didn't hear the boos. I was focused. Like, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Thank you for the super chat. Big picture. The real Ricky Tan says there's a lot of baseball left. It was one bad series. It does happen. Every team goes through this. We just won 2 out of 3 versus the best in the National League. Just saying. Yeah. And that's a fair point. And before this, they won 4 series in a row. And yeah, they've won the season series against the Dodgers. But other fans would also say it's not just one series because what about the 4 games in Colorado where they split them? They didn't win the series when they should have won that series. What about some of the games earlier this year? I mean, I should probably pull up the Padres' full schedule here just to refresh my memory. Go back just to see what games stand out here. Let's see. I mean, there's some of the games where it was like it just felt like it was over pretty early. I think that Blue Jays Friday game where they lost 5-1. Some games where it's like it's not just one game though, like just the underperforming in some of these games individually. Um, the Phillies come into town and sweep the Padres. So you could say, well, played some good baseball against the Dodgers, played some good baseball against teams like the Brewers, won 4 series in a row. But you could point to others where it's like, ooh, yeah, that was not a good series. This series, the Phillies series, it's like, who really is this team? Some of the inconsistency that Manny didn't like this game, where I think Kevin brought up the word inconsistency. He's like, these words that you guys insert into the conversation. And so, like, he's disagreeing about the inconsistency part. But you look at the schedule, and it does show a little bit of that in terms of wins and losses. And that obviously is what matters the most. All right. That's going to do it. Episode 598. Trying to get through this. Sorry. My voice still isn't the greatest. Episode 598, Talking Friars. I appreciate everyone's time. Have a great rest of your night, or as great as you can make it. Maybe go watch another sporting event to forget about this, or take your mind off it for a little bit, especially for the day off tomorrow. And then we go back at it with the Braves on Friday.